Hello and welcome to everybody who cares to watch. The Ballers are back. We are here from in and around London. We are not inside London itself, in and around. Will, Peter, how are we all doing? Championship weekend. We've got a lot to discuss.
Yeah, no, this is it. This is that final stretch now. The teams that are through, obviously, you've got Philadelphia Eagles, 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Bengals. So it's the cream of the crop. I think it's safe to say all the teams that are here are deserving of it. Like it's the best of the best right now. It's going to be some hella good games, but we also got some hella good news. Well, hella controversial news, hella good news, and some hella bad news. So yeah, no, can't wait to get into it.
Peter, as a fellow fan who doesn't have a team in the championship weekend, how much are you looking forward to these games? Because I think they're brilliant matchups, each of them.
Well, they are. And like Will said, if you really look at it over the course of the season, those four teams are like the best teams throughout the regular season. Well, the Chiefs and the Eagles were consistent from start to finish. 49ers and Bengals, shaky start, but they turned it around and became two of the best teams in the league. So officially, they are like the four best teams throughout the regular season, right at the end. So they deserve to be where they are. Massive credit to both teams to set up an exciting championship weekend to see who makes it to Arizona.
It's going to be a very interesting battle, but before we talk about those, the most important games, obviously, we have a bunch of news to go through, and the big news coming out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Frank Reich, Mr. France, because, you know, we like to play those puns, is now the head coach of Carolina Panthers. Steve Wilkes did not manage to get that head coach berth. Peter, what are your thoughts on this one? Because there are some inflammatory comments from Skip Bayless about what the team should do, and I think that's a load of codswallop, to put it. But what are your thoughts on the hiring?
Well, technically it is, because I just feel like what he was saying there's no credit in it, because the players are not going to boycott and stuff like that. But at the end of the day,
they're professionals.
When it comes to selecting head coaches, it's down to the owner's prerogative and who the owner feels comfortable in appointing to be the head coach of his team. Essentially, fans play a good role in terms of like supporting the team, but effectively, David Tepper owns the team, and he chose who he needs to go with. It's a little bit disappointing that he didn't give the full-time job to Steve Wilkes, considering the fact that Steve Wilkes nearly won the division with a team that had such a terrible start and wasn't going anywhere fast. So he came in and he changed things in the trajectory. And I thought he has a lot of cachet with the Panthers franchise. He's been a coach, he's been the defensive coordinator. He's built such a good rapport with the franchise that he's literally Carolina through and through with the Panthers, and he was deserving of a spot like that. But in the same time, I think this move for them hiring Frank Reich signals the fact that they wanted some of head coaching experience, and it seems like they're going to try and get a quarterback in the upcoming draft. And I think nowadays the move across the league is that your plan is to draft a young quarterback,
coach them through
just get an offensive-minded head coach that's gonna groom him into the NFL. So I think that signals about. At the same time, in years past, there have been rookie quarterbacks that have also had good careers under defensive head coaches, namely Joe Flacco, who won a Super Bowl with the Ravens under a defensive head coach when he was drafted as a rookie late in the first round. So you go understand that it can happen. Matt Ryan initially was drafted to a defensive head coach in Matt Smith, I think. That was his name. And did have a successful career with the Falcons in the early part of his career. So there are some instances where defensive coaches can work, but it is disappointing.
But the thing is, like, as you're saying, if there is a defensive head coach, they've got to have the right mind on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep, that's essential. They have to make sure that
They
the
have to be
offensive
coached.
coordinator almost has to be your equal,
Yeah.
if not someone that's contending for a job, because in the end of the day, like, you're not in charge of that side of the ball. And a telltale sign is if, like, you've got to be able to master your side of the ball. So if you're a defensive coach, you better make sure that even if your team is not winning games, the defense is one of the top defenses in the league, or a top 10 defense, top 15 defense. Because if it's not, then it's like, what are you really doing? I'm going to speak fairly briefly on this because I actually don't have an issue with Frank Reich being named the head coach here, because, to be honest, he's qualified. He's more than qualified for it. But what we're going to find out,
Eagles, so
yeah, not just that, but he has proven that he can coach a really good team. But what we're going to really find out here is if the problem with Carolina lies more deep rooted. So he's going to get a fair shot, but if the team just something doesn't quite click, things aren't working out, then people are really going to ask, okay, maybe it's the organizational structure. Maybe it's from the top down that's causing the issues, because now it's a clean slate. You've had Matt Rule, and he was more, and he's been quoted as being more of like an administrator, not really an X's and O's guy. He was more like a manager of personnel, and that fell flat on its face. You've obviously had Steve Wilkes, who did an amazing job, and I think you have to respect him now. And it's unfortunate that he didn't get this job. I'd be more than happy if he did, but now that you have Matt Rule, you know you have a coach in place. So if the organization as a whole continues to
you mean now that you've got Frank Reich?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Now that you have Frank Reich, if the organization as a whole continues to like stutter, then you've really got to look deeper in the organization and ask yourself, is it more deep rooted in Carolina? But some teams just lack direction at the top.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're seeing Houston for the longest time. Houston Texans have been struggling. You know what I mean? So it kind of seems as though Carolina is that next team. If they don't turn the corner now with Frank Reich, I don't think they can, maybe for the next half decade. So they've really got to get things right. It's just a shame that Steve Wilkes had to sort of die on that flag, because I think he did more than enough. I'm just glad that the person he's losing his job to isn't someone that failed somewhere else or underperformed somewhere else.
He underperformed, but the thing is also the team underperformed. It wasn't purely down to the coaching incapabilities. Yeah. It was people not executing. You can coach as much as you want. If people don't execute.
Exactly.
But that's true.
If Tepper had taken like a positional coach, like a linebacker coach or like a wide receiver coach, and said, yeah, you're the new head coach, or he'd gone to like...
He'd been leapfrogged effectively, but he hasn't been... Yeah. He's been from somebody who has got to the playoff. That's the thing.
I think a lot of owners now are savvy because they know that they can't leapfrog candidates like they did 6 years ago. Now you legit, because everyone's watching, and you'll get called out on it, not just by your fans, not just by the media, not just by your players, but you'll get called out by other NFL owners, really. Because I think, well, they may not think the same, but they're all ready to point. You know, there's no way someone with no head coaching experience, period, can, leapfrog everyone else. You know, they're having issues with your Colts. Like, there's rumor mills that Jeff Saturday's actually considered, like, he's taking a serious consideration.
He's had 2 interviews.
He's had two interviews, and that's like, I mean, what did he show? Like, honestly, compared to other candidates that are out.
But then Esther is not to be a bit of a maverick in terms of an owner. Like, he can do certain things out of left field sometimes. But in saying that, I actually don't understand why your coach fired Frank Reich, because I don't think he deserved to be fired. He had proven that he's a very good head coach for your Colts, and one really bad season does not require him to be fired. I just thought it was a very unfair dismissal.
Do you know what I think? Do you know what I think that was the thing that lost him it.
Because he vouched for Carson Wentz, and I understand he could do certain things with him. He understood him. He got drafted, and Frank Reich was the OC in Philadelphia at the time. So I understand, but they put so much into that Carson Wentz acquisition, and for it to fall flat on its face and be moving on after one season. You didn't even wait like 3 years and work through it. One season over and done with after what they invested into that acquisition. I mean, you can't be doing that in the NFL. Like, the only team that can probably get away with something like that right now is the 49ers and Trey Lance, only because they're winning games. Like, winning games cures all. So if they were winning games and they decided to move on from someone they drafted,
I don't remember, but how much did your Colts give up for Carson Wentz? You didn't give up a first rounder.
It was players.
Wait, it turned into a first rounder, didn't it?
It turned into a first rounder. It turned into a first rounder, so we did give up a first rounder for him.
Yeah, but it's scary because I reckon realistically it was that one game against the Jags that cut the line. Like, Jim Irsay almost flew through the ultimate tantrum after that one game with the Jags. And I understand it was a horrible performance. You had one job to do, and against an Urban Meyer-led Jags team, and you just couldn't get it done. You wet the bed. And I understand he was upset, but that kind of seems like someone that's on like a fuse, like so hot-headed that you'd literally be like, all right, everything, we're going to scrap everything. You're gone, we're going. Like, you can't run an organization like that. You just can't be washing the deck all the time and being like, no, that's not right. That building a franchise.
But he's not normally like that. He's a maverick, but he's not normally like that because previously he had the biggest luxury.
Yep.
He went from he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, to somebody who probably should have been in the Hall of Fame, providing that he had the full-length career.
I think he was just traumatized and realized he had something good, and he doesn't want to. It's hard for him to get back up on his feet after that as an owner. You had a guy there. You had your Peyton Manning again. You had like a Hall of Fame guy.
But he's trying. Like I don't put that on Jim Irsay though. I don't, because he hired a GM and thought the GM would be able to put a good team around Andrew Luck and be able to have a successful franchise going, because it's very rare to have back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. The Packers did it with Favre and Rodgers, and it seems like the Colts were on a track of Andrew Luck. But the only issue in that instance is the fact that the GM that he hired didn't do the job, and that's what Irsay is trying to get back to winning ways. So you can't really blame him for that. You blame the GM for the horrible job that he did.
Yeah, which Colts fans around the world unanimously have a disdain for Ryan Grigson. Okay. So other news, Ryan Nielsen has been hired as the defensive coordinator of the Falcons. Obviously, the Falcons as a team completely in a rebuild still. We'll see what they do at the quarterback position, because they're going to be needing one coming draft time, or potentially in free agency, but I would expect more in the draft than in free agency. The Rams have hired Mike LaFleur as offensive coordinator. So from the Jets to the Rams. Peter, what do you think of this? Because this is obviously in your division. The Rams, with the injuries and everything that happened, and with them being in a complete state of flux, because a lot's going to be changing at the Rams over the off season.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this is a good hire for them. It's a step in the right direction, because I think Mike LaFleur, with the Jets, there were reports that he couldn't fully run the offense like it's supposed to run it because of the understanding when it comes to a young quarterback in Zach Wilson, it just didn't have strong quarterback play. But I think he's coming from the same coaching tree as his brother. His brother is the head coach for the Packers, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Exactly. So this is coming from the same tree. It's similar offense. He understands the concepts, and Bill McVay will help him sort of like rejuvenate his career again and be able to get back on the right track. It's worrying for our division, because I think the Rams offense is going to be much better than it was last year. So there's going to be an improvement there. but to what level they're gonna get back up to, it remains to be seen because a bigger part is the offensive line. Now, Mark LaFleur, one thing that his passing game is okay, but I think the Rams are gonna be a much more effective run team. So that means in the NFC West, the other three teams, you gotta get your run defense in very good condition because Mark LaFleur is a very good run game coordinator. So it's gonna uptick the Rams' performance as a running football unit. And when you think about it, Sean McVay had his best success when the Rams were able to run football. Prior to them getting Matthew Stafford, their offense was primarily running based. When they had Todd Gurley, they had a slew of running backs, and they were able to pound teams with a running game effectively. So I think I could see this up as Sean McVay trying to get back to the roots and rebuild the offense from the run game upwards going forward.
And at the moment, obviously, there's a bit of salary cap magic that needs to happen for the Rams come towards the off-season because they're already in the red. They're already behind the 8 ball. They need to shift some room. But the thing is, you look at some players, like the expectation is Jalen Ramsey probably won't be there next year. He's under contract, but anything before June 1st, they're still not going to be. That's only going to save them about $4 million. So they have for them to have it for it to be worthwhile. It has to be afterwards, and then that will get them the $14 million. That will effectively just wipe out the salary cap deficit. But do we see them being as competitive as, well, obviously they were in the Super Bowl last year, but do we see them getting back to usual ways just with Stafford and Cooper Kupp coming back?
I think the main thing is having everyone healthy. I think it's getting back, not necessarily to how they were as a powerhouse, but working their way back. Like I said, I don't think Jalen Ramsey is going to be there. But he's an important part of that defense, because both sides, Aaron Donald as well. Like, do we know if he's going to be back?
I think he's back.
You think he's back? And I think he wants to play.
Because I think it's called Sean McVay's back, so he's back. I think if McVay retired, he probably would have retired too. I think he
as well.
At a stage of I play for McVay kind of thing.
Yeah, he plays for McVay. He's already got his championship. He's already a Hall of Famer. He's walking. So it's basically he's done it. He's done it. There's nothing really left for him to prove. So at this point now, and it's not really about the money either. I think he's made a lot of money, and he's deserving of every single penny. So for him right now, it's really just how much does he love the game and how much does he love the organization and being around his guys. I think the team will work its way back to being respectable in their division, but I still think there's a lot of work that has to be done because you've got to build almost like a new roster. You know what I mean? You've got to start from scratch, and it starts through the draft. Like, they're going to have to start winning through the draft because they're not going to be able to do that. Well, actually, no, they can't because they haven't got a lot of picks. So, they haven't got money and they haven't got picks. Never mind. Yeah, but it's a hard reset. It's going to
be a reset, and the thing is, you look at the free agents. So Ashawn Robinson's a free agent. Troy Hill, Matt Gay, Taylor Rapp. So punter and kicker are all free agents. But obviously, the thing is, when you have reliable kickers, you want to kind of hold. I think that's more prevalent nowadays. When you have reliable kickers, you hold on to them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Like I said, this is where like your scouting department earns its pay because you've got to get those gems in like the 3rd, 4th round, 5th round that become starters and could potentially knock on being pro ballers. Like if you can hit on like every season, if you can get one guy that's if you can get all of your 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks to be starters and maybe one to be a potential pro baller, then that's really good. That's what you want to do. And teams that draft badly are sort of stuck in a rut and have to rely on free agency. You know, if you look at the Raiders in the past few seasons, their draft classes have been. It leaves a lot to be desired.
A lot, correct.
So
My Cardinals is part of those teams.
no, you
Agreed.
drafted, you just don't play your guys.
Listen, we drafted horribly. I'm telling you.
We'll take Simmons, man. We'll give you Isaiah White for Simmons any day.
We're not that
You
down.
send
bro.
that.
What
you send that to
Kaiser
Howard.
White is that you like?
Listen,
He's a good linebacker,
I know.
but we'll
We
take
might be
Simmons.
off.
Well, no,
but
Kaiser White was more of a when he was on the Chargers, he was more of that hybrid safety linebacker kind of player.
That's linebacker. Yep,
he wasn't that good.
he's doing great.
No,
for us.
I'm saying that's how he played. That's how they played him.
Yeah.
Listen, as badly as you want, we won't we won't trade an 8th overall pick for that. I'm just talking
Correct.
about. In
No, I
terms of what
know,
he's
I know,
supposed to
but
draft.
Will's just let Will live in fantasy land just for a moment there.
Simmons on our defense.
You guys are about to win the
you're getting
ball
greedy.
anyway.
You're getting greedy now. All right. Well, as
We already
Mike
gave you
LaFleur-
one of ours anyway.
as Mike LaFleur heads from the Jets to the Rams via a few days as a man who was fired, Nathaniel Hackett heads to the Jets as the offensive coordinator, and the thing that everyone is saying is this is the Jets' attempt to try and get Aaron Rodgers, because then if Aaron Rodgers becomes a New York Jet, can you imagine what everyone's saying is like, all right, so next year he's going to be on the Vikings. You know, he's just going to do a Favre.
Mm.
And then he's going to be
Yeah, but yes,
allegedly
I
putting his hands into some money pockets where he shouldn't be putting his hand into as
I think
well.
him to the Vikings is a possibility because, like I said, it's big media. It's New York. It kind of helps like his brand because now he's gone from like a small town team, like Green Bay, and he's gone to the Big Apple. So I think it helps his brand. He's got pieces there. You've got offensive weapons. You know, you've got Garrett on the outside. You've got is it Moore? Something more? I can't
You got
remember his
Elijah
name.
Moore, you got
Elijah Moore.
Garrett Wilson, you've
Garrett
got
Wilson.
Brees Hall, you've
He's-
got
Some
you've got
people say if
CJ
he was
Uzomah, so
healthy,
you've got a tight end as well that is
Yep.
useful.
if he was healthy, you've got offensive rookie of the year. A lot of people, everyone knows it's probably going to be Brock Purdy now, but if Brees Hall was healthy and finished off the season, he'd probably be offensive rookie of the year. So you've got those pieces in place and you've got that defense. So you're ready to win now. And you've got to, so that's, it makes sense. If he wants to win, I think the Jets is a good place to go.
Do you,
And it
do you
helps
know?
his brand. So it's a win-win. But I'll tell you what, if he doesn't go, yo, Jets, I really hope, I mean, he's done really good developing players, but Zach Wilson needs a lot of work. And I think it's going to be an
A
uphill
lot
struggle.
of work.
It's not going to be a one-season thing. But are you gonna, with what you have as a team, are you willing to sort of ride that out for maybe two years before you start to see dividends? Like it's got to happen now. Like either if you don't get Aaron, it's basically going to be like a collapse. You know what I mean? So I wish him the best. I think Hackett. Unfortunately for me, I look at it as a case of the Denver Broncos offense was horrendous.
Correct.
Probably the worst offense in the league. So for me, it's kind of like a hard sell. It would have been worse if he actually got a head coaching job anywhere, but OC is at least.
But the thing is,
It's still
I like,
falling up. It's still
I
falling
like
up
what
to
somebody said. I can't remember who said it. What was the main thing that held the New York Jets back this season? What's the only thing that held the New York Jets back this season?
It was quarterback play, QB play.
So
it.
they
They're in
fixed
the
that.
playoffs, right?
They have a very good chance of doing something very good next season. Peter, any thoughts on the Hackett hire before we move on to the next topic?
I think it's more of a chance for him to redeem himself, really, more so than any moves of Rodgers. Yes, that could still happen, but I think is an opportunity for him to redeem himself because of the situation with Russell Wilson not working out. So he gets a second opportunity to really prove that he can be a good coach in this league. Basically, that's what it comes down to.
And the last on the potential merry-go-round, Kellen Moore's status as offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys is not solidified, but not fired. It's kind of, we don't know anything at the moment.
I think he's going to stay.
I think he's going to stay, but the thing is, I think he's on thinner ice now, considering how that ended especially how it ended last week.
Yeah, I actually think the opposite. I think Kellen Moore is going to survive a few more, only because Jerry Jones has a strong affinity for guys that he picked and guys that have come up for his organization. Remember, they drafted Kellen Moore late. He was a QB back when Dak was coming into the league and towards the end of Tony Romo from Boise State. They brought him in. He's been a QB on that team as a backup. He's gone from that into coaching. He's worked his way through the coaching. He's become OC. Jerry has nurtured that guy all the way through. So I don't think Jerry almost looks at him as like a little kid, like that, a part of his family. So I don't think Jerry, he gets really sentimental with players and coaches that he brings in. Mike McCarthy's the alien here.
To a fault.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy is the alien here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not someone from his unit that he brought in. And Jerry likes to win with his guys. So I think Kellen Moore's going to be safe.
Yeah, but he hasn't been winning with his guys for how long?
Yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott.
Much to the amusement of all of us.
He's the OC. He's not the QB coach. He can kind of do a bit of both. You expect the best OCs can do a bit of both. So Dak Prescott turned into an INT machine this year. I think if you get rid of a lot of those INTs, you have a really good Dallas team that has a much better record. And we're not even talking about Kellen Moore potentially being on the chopping block. So at the end of the day, you've got to look at Dallas. You've got to look at Dak Prescott and see how he performed as the main root cause. Whatever's going to happen next year, I think it's about rehabilitating Dak. If Dak can play well, the team will be there again because they've got the pieces in place. Some aging pieces on offense with that offensive line. I don't know what's going to happen with Zach Martin, but it's going to be an uphill struggle. But Kellen Moore will keep his job. I can see McCarthy going before Kellen does, and that's why.
Well, we know that McCarthy's not going to be going at the end of this season, so
not this season. Yeah, he'll be there. But that's
and last but not least of the news items, Tua is still in the concussion protocol, so he is not going to be participating in even a game of flag football. The cotton wool is fully out. He is wrapped up in bubble wrap until next season.
I think it's a precaution. I still don't really agree that he's still
in a flag football game. You're not going to get hit.
They just don't want him to do anything. Just take as much time.
Correct. And it just means that it shows how potentially... It shows, actually, to the rest of the league it's extremely severe, so... It's not to be taken lightly, and we're going to be talking about Tua throughout the off-season because... I'm sure there will be updates coming, through here and there.
If you're Miami, you draft a quarterback late. Like maybe we're talking like another Mr. Irrelevant potentially, but it'll be dumb for them not to do that. It'll be.
Well, they did draft a quarterback. Where was Skyler drafted?
Skyler, yeah, Skyler. I mean, you need to be looking for someone that you might need to call upon, not just someone that can keep a young QB room. You need someone that could potentially be your guy.
Do you know what's going to be really interesting? Where Stetson Bennett ends up. I know he's not going to. He's going to be a much highly picked, but I'll be really interested to see where he goes because of the head that he has upon his shoulders, rather than pure
ability.
ability.
It's hard, man. It's hard. We've seen guys like him. He could just be a college phenom, and it's not going to translate. But he has played in the SEC, and that's the closest thing to NFL defenses. So if he had played in the Pac-12 or the Big
You would have
10,
been worried
then
even more.
I would have been a bit worried even more. But he has played in the SEC, so Alabama, obviously Georgia, but that's his team at practice. It comes to a point where everyone in practice that's starting on defense is going to be potentially starting on an NFL squad at some point. So you're definitely getting really good reps at practice against teams like Florida, Alabama, LSU. So there is hope, but I don't see teams reaching for him. I think a few years back we had, I think, was it Luke Fromm or something? He didn't really pan out.
Oh, Jake Fromm,
he was from Georgia. He didn't really pan out. And it was the same sort of thing. I think he was right there.
I remember Jake Fromm's QB1 days. Remember that on Netflix?
Yeah. So Jake Fromm was one of those guys. He didn't quite pan out in the league, and he still played for Georgia. Played really well. Couldn't get over the championship hump, but so it doesn't always turn out. So it will still be interesting because, like I said, when it comes to the draft, some teams will get desperate, and some teams are always going to reach. So New York Jets, Zach Wilson, they'll start seeing things that no one else is seeing, and they'll take a shot, and it might not work out for the best. So,
all right, now we have it. 2 games that we're all looking forward to, and we are going to start off with the first game of the day, and that is the San Francisco 49ers, along with their lovely adornation of the Rocky statue in Philadelphia, against the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, as this is the game that's including your team, what are the keys to the 49ers beating your Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, they've got to be able to establish some kind of run game, which is going to be hard for them, mainly because they have a QB in Brock Purdy that hasn't necessarily, well, he's been tested. I'm not even going to play that card, but all I'm saying is that they have to establish some kind of run game. And I'm sorry, guys, this isn't me being overconfident. In fact, I wouldn't say
you're being a homer. Come on.
I just find it really hard to see. Like, both of these teams were very evenly matched across the board. I'd say we're a little bit more talented than they are across the whole roster.
Do you know what I would say?
The main thing is the quarterbacks. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to the QBs.
I think it comes down to, from an offensive point of view, how do you deal with Nick Bosa? Right? Because Nick Bosa accounts for a ridiculous percentage of San Francisco's sacks. Whereas you guys have it spread around.
Yep.
You keep a lid on Bosa, you win this game.
Yeah, I think
we
have the personnel for it. Go ahead, Pete.
So, no, go ahead.
I was going to say we have the personnel for it and the depth. Lane Johnson.
Because I've got to do some research first before I make my point.
Okay.
Brett Toth, Jack Driscoll, Andre Dillard, who's coming off as backups. They're in rotation of the offensive line. So we have the personnel for it. I think we can definitely hang. But it's actually a little bit easier when it's one guy. Well, they've got a really good defensive line anyway. But when you have one guy who outperforms a lot of the other guys on the team, you can zero in on him a little bit more. But we're not going to just do that, because I think our offensive linemen on an island can do their job. We're not going to be dedicating parts of our O-line. We're not going to be sending 2 guys to block 1 person. We have enough faith in the guys on our offensive line and their skill set, especially outside, with Lane Johnson and Mailata, that they can hold their own. If they die on that island, then they die on the island. But we're not gonna. We've got other things that we can do. Remember, we have a QB in Jalen Hurts that's extremely mobile, and he will punish you. It's arm tackles are not going to bring it down. You know what I mean? You're not tackling a Taylor Heineke here. So even if you do get a hand on him, it's not going to be enough. This isn't a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers where he can just grab him with his arm and drag him down. No, he's going to rip that straight away and he's going to break off on a run here. Like I said, I honestly think this is going to come down to the quarterbacks. And I think we have a much better QB that can extend plays. They can both make plays down the field. But for the 49ers to win this game, I think Brock Purdy has to have the best game of his career. And I think he's going to have to make a lot of big throws. Chauncey Gardner, for us, sorry about moving the conversation away. Him coming back healthy this late has completed our defense. Because now we've got a really ball hawk safety that's really good at analyzing plays. And have you realized as soon as he came back, our defense started shoring things up. We struggled on that stretch where he got injured, and then we started seeing the holes on the back end of the defense. But when Chauncey Gardner came back, zipped, sorted. So I think Chauncey Gardner is the difference maker for our defense because we have the back end and the front end. They all play complementary football. You know, they all help each other out. So it's important. And
also,
I think if we could, yeah.
I'm just going to interject. The run game, using the running back for you guys is going to be really, really important. Because the 49ers don't give up a lot of yardage on the ground at all. You can't get into a situation where you're constantly throwing the ball because then it becomes predictable and then that gives the defensive line of the 49ers opportunity to go and attack Jalen Hurts, and you don't want to have him constantly in scramble mode, especially when you have safety, when you have like players like Hufanga potentially able to do a game-wrecking kind of play.
Yep. We're gonna have this is where like it actually helps us because I mean if they have like a strong defensive front, we're gonna run right at it. So I know that's easier said than done, but Jalen Hurts can do RPOs, run pass option, zone read, and there's gonna be a lot of designed QB runs as well. So we're gonna keep them honest. You know, so if they're caught sort of peeking in the backfield, that's all it's going to take. Jalen Hurts can analyze that play and he knows, okay, the end is going to crash. That's great. I'm going to go straight to my tight end. So they've really got to be disciplined in terms of pass rushing Jalen Hurts. He's got the speed. And like I said, he can break arm tackles. So I don't know. Styles make fights. And I think this is going to be, I mean, it's going to, watching that offensive line and defensive line of both teams go at each other is going to be like, it's going to be one of those things where you take the film from that game and you basically show it to like other players. You show it to high school players. You show it to college players. That is the level of play we're going to see on the offensive line. And I'm more excited to see that play out than I am to see all the other stuff, you know, because I think the team that wins this game could win it all.
Are you saying the NFC? Are you saying your bias is saying that the NFC is winning this irrespective?
I'm saying if you're able to win this game, depending on how you win it, you're sort of saying, look, Pete's there smiling. He's like, we're getting a bit overconfident. But all I'm saying is it's path, like it's the tried and tested path. Like,
do you know? All right, I'm gonna stick up for my AFC here, because obviously
QB plays better on the other side. I'm not even gonna lie about that. But
listen, but you need to understand the teams in the AFC also have a chance, you know, in the Super Bowl. So you need to kind of temper the expectations here. As to like,
Will thinks he's won it all already, man. He already thinks he's won. He thinks he's won the Super Bowl already. Yeah, the splash headline on YouTube. Will says the Eagles have won the Super Bowl already. There's our clickbait title.
I think I think all the teams are good at
I
this
know.
point. All the teams are good at this point, but I think there's a certain type of metal. There's a certain type of metal needed in teams that win physical games like this. You know, you're not easily beaten. You know what I mean? Kansas City are a great team, but they're finesse, and we all know it. You know what I mean? They're tough. You've got to be good to get this far. The Bengals as well. They're going to get cute.
No.
Hold
on a second. We're not talking about KC yet. You can't say that they're a finesse team. When they played the 49ers in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, were they a finesse team?
Well, they're a bit more. Well, they had different guys then, so
they were losing by 10 points. But who won the Super Bowl come the end of the game?
Yeah, fair enough.
Exactly. So the thing is that here's the thing: when a team is so good at certain aspects of their offense, you make them think that they're a finesse team, but they could be deceptive and they could fool you.
And
I mean,
thing about we'll talk about Kansas City. We're talking about Kansas City. We're going to talk about how insane they are in their ability to get Kelsey open. Even though you think he's going to be doubled
we'll
and
talk
the like.
about that.
We'll talk about that in a bit, but continue on, Peter.
But my keys for this game, it comes that it's simple. And it's like, again, this game is going to be fluidly influenced by the trenches. Which team's offensive and defensive line will play better on the day? Because when it comes to skill positions, the Eagles edges slightly because the 49ers do have good skill positions. When you put a combination of Kittle, Ayuk and Deebo Samuel together, they're potent receiving core.
And CMC.
But your Eagles edges it because, and CMC as well. But your Eagles edges it because you guys have those two standouts that can beat one-on-one coverage. That's AJ Brown and
Devontae Smith. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have that, and you have a good tight end in Dallas Goedert. But the reason why I think your Eagles might have an edge is because you have a slightly better offensive line than the 49ers in the sense of the Eagles' offensive line will be good at neutralizing the 49ers pass rush because you got is Jordan Mailata playing?
So
yes.
if we look,
he is.
He's not even in on the injury report, so yeah, he's good to go.
All right, so he's playing. So Jordan Mailata, one-on-one with Nick Bosa can neutralize him. Lane Johnson can neutralize Nick Bosa. The reason why I was looking for Nick Bosa's sack log for this year because I was looking at the games whereby he had multiple sacks and the left tackles that he went up against. He had multiple sacks against Miami. They don't have the best left tackle in the league. He had 2 sacks against the Seahawks. Their left tackle is a rookie. Against the LA Rams, he had 2 sacks. Their left tackle is a backup who's now a starter. Against Washington, their left tackle is not in the stratosphere of Trent Williams and Jordan Mailata. So what I'm saying is that as good as Nick Bosa has been, he has somewhat been a little bit limited when he's come against the best of the best in terms of
he doesn't always line up on that side of the field. The thing is, he's got a choice between Mailata and Lane Johnson, and
but those are potent. Like you can't. Lane Johnson is arguably one of the best right tackles.
The only thing I would say is that how much will the injury that Lane Johnson has, will that have an impact? Because we know he is carrying an injury. We know he's going to be having surgery at the end of the season.
But I think Lane Johnson is one of those tough dudes that can play through that injury. So far, he's played through and he's been solid in the playoffs.
Well, he played one game, didn't he? He didn't play the game before. He didn't play the week before.
But I know. But the one game that he played, he had been solid with the injury that he's carrying. So, and at the same time, the Eagles will give him some help if it comes to an issue of maybe he might be struggling a little bit with the injury. But I think in saying that, I also feel both teams have a chance, but I think the Eagles slightly edges it because I think the Eagles have enough pass blockers against the 49ers pass rush more than the 49ers have against the Eagles pass rush because the Eagles, their pass rush is a couple of guys. They've got Hassan Reddick, they've got Josh Sweat, they've got the interior rushers with Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham.
Correct,
so
yeah.
They're quite deep in terms of the amount of guys that can come get the quarterback, whereas the 49ers have to rely on Nick Bosa or Eric Armstead to make something happen in the same time. But I wouldn't be surprised the 49ers manufacture a win. I think it'll be more disappointing for the Eagles if they lose this game because they'll feel like they are the better team all around. So it'll be much more disappointment for the Eagles if they were to lose this game.
All right.
Would you agree with
Predictions
that, Will?
time. Will, you're muted.
You're on mute.
So I'm going to put words into Will's mouth because obviously, so he's saying that. Actually,
There you
no,
go.
I'm not going to put words
There you
into
go.
Will's mouth.
Yeah, no, I think what's going to happen is we're going to be hopefully we can
You will be
hold
disappointed
Bosa-
if you guys were to lose this game, though. It'll be
Yeah,
a
no,
big,
we
a
would. We
big,
would.
big-
We would. It would be a big disappointment for us because I think we have the firepower. We're like the more. 49ers is just such a good team. But I think Mailata's good enough to. We're going to get pressures. I'll be surprised if he gets to like a clean sack just because Jalen Hurts is very hard to sack. But
Mhm.
I think Bosa is going to get like a lot of pressures, but I don't think Mailata is going to win. He's going to get through Mailata, but then he's not going to be able to secure the sack.
He's so
Only because he's big, he's
maneuverable.
fast, and he's going to get out of the way. Like he'll get rid of the ball but there's going to be like a lot of pressures. There's going to be an almost sack, like, where he's dragging him down, the ball's thrown away, but it won't count as a sack. But there's no way. Mailata is amazing, but I find it very hard to believe that he's going to be able to beat. He's going to be able to stop Joey Bosa the whole way. Like
How
I
many
said, I think
times-
there'll be a lot of almost sacks.
How many times do you think
Yeah, but hold on a
that
second.
Jalen Hurts got sacked this season?
I don't know, maybe less than 20 or 20.
I'm just going to calculate it up now. So you guys just
I'm going to
The
Google
thing
it,
is,
mate.
okay. So as you were saying, Will, I think I need you to
38.
clarify your comments. An almost sack is not a sack. If I'm a left tackle, right, and you
Pressure.
get through
It's
me,
pressure.
so on east, it doesn't matter. Did you get the quarterback?
Nope. It won't show up on the stat sheet, but it's going to be one of those things where they're like, he got 8 pressures and whatever
Don't
they
I-
want to call it
let's-
to make themselves feel good about it. But I
Yeah,
think
but
it's
don't
so
underestimate
hard.
your left tackles. Okay, so he got 8 pressures against Dallas. Who's the Dallas left tackle?
What's his name? Jason Peters?
it wasn't Jason
Right.
Peters on the day because
Was he out?
I swear it was Tyler Smith or whoever they drafted. earlier
Tyron
this year.
Smith.
one
Not
second.
Tyrone, Tyler.
So Cowboys was Tyler Smith, yes, because
Yeah, they drafted him he was a rookie in last year's draft. So Nick Bosa having 8 pressures against him. Well, you expect him to have 8 pressures because he's a rookie. He just started in the NFL this season. And Nick Bosa is a veteran pass rusher who's been in the league for the last 3 years. So in the last 4 seasons. So you expect him to perform much better. I think, do you know what? I feel like I have more faith in Jordan Mailata than you do.
I think Jordan Mailata is an absolute beast of an offensive lineman.
He is.
And I'm biased because he's
And I
an
think he'll rise to
international
the
player,
challenge
program
because-
player as well.
Exactly, and he's gonna rise to the challenge. You're playing the premier pass rusher in the NFL right now.
can-
Nick
can-
Bosa.
Can you just put somebody else at left tackle for one play and let him carry the ball?
I wouldn't
I
be
wanna see
surprised
that. I
if
wanna
he's
see
got
that.
if you've got
I wanna
something.
see that.
I'm telling you,
He's an ex
gonna cause
rugby
trouble.
league. He's an ex rugby league player. Come on.
He's a rugby league guy. He can run with the ball. I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you
Well,
know what?
they
Hey,
hold
hold
the
on.
ball
They
different.
have that
The
kind of
one thing is
package.
they hold
Can
the
you
ball
can
differently.
you can you
They do
ask
hold it
Sirianni? Actually, in saying that, he deserves to get like a fullback touchdown. When you get to the goal line, can you like just give him the
I
ball and let him
don't
like
want to.
try?
I would not want to attack. I don't want to be the linebacker. the linebacker going through that because rugby players are different. Like because he's going to use his pads as a weapon.
Of course,
It's like when they have
Okay.
Peter Veyer lining in the backfield, right?
Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like it's like rugby players are just different because they go into the contact, but they do it. They lead with the body. In football, a lot of the time they rely with the pads. So all you've done is you've armored Mailata. So he's going to lead with the body. And the poor linebacker, I say linebacker, and the poor linebacker is going to have to try and Stop him, and it's not going to end well. Like forward progress alone will be enough. Like it's like I said, I don't even want to imagine that.
All right,
No way.
predictions
I
time.
want to see it.
All right, we all want to see it. Predictions time.
24-21.
So you're going to say there's going to be 45 points in this game? Let's see what the over/under is.
Both defenses are very good.
All right, what do
And
you
we both
think?
want to establish the run. We're not high flying. If you challenge us to throw, if you challenge the Eagles to throw, they will throw it.
So you guys are at the moment 2.5 point favourites, which is next to nothing. If we look at over under is expected to be 46. It's in 46.5, so or 45.5. So you're saying literally around that mark. Peter, who do you think is going to win this one?
I think the Eagles edges it. I think it's going to be a very close game. But I think there could be like a touchdown difference. I don't think it'll be as close as a field goal difference. I think whoever wins this game wins it by a touchdown, mainly based because, and I think it's also about who can stop who early and to gain momentum, which I think the Eagles might do. And the Eagles also have the added mobility of Jalen Hurts. It's not just their running backs that can run the football; their quarterback can run it too. So I'll take the Eagles. I'll say probably 28-21, that type of thing.
So you're saying it's going to be a bit higher scoring game. I am going to go a different tact. I'm going to go 20 points to 17. I'm going to say it's going to be a defensive slugfest in favour of the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is purely because I want the Purdy story to continue. I think the defenses will be on top. I think Purdy hits a beautiful pass to George Kittle for a touchdown or something like that.
I mean, if Purdy
actually, okay. So hold on. This is a game where I actually feel Purdy would throw. He'll cover it up. Now, one of his risky throws will get picked off because the last 2 games he has made some.
Do you know what? He had some risky throws. Even that, the bubbled catch, which ended up being a catch. That was a bad throw. But the thing is, if that had not gone into Kittle's hands, that was not being intercepted. That would have just been completely incomplete. That was just, it was a bad throw. It was way too far in front of the tight end. So sometimes he is throwing bad throws just for incompletions, but I think the defensive. So we had the Eagles have the ability to stop the running game last week, but I think this running game is a little bit more sophisticated, especially with pulling guards and pulling the tackles. When they get Trent Williams pulling, it's a little bit different to when you have.
It is
how the New York Giants doing it, especially with Kittle going in. Kittle as a blocking tight end as well. When he's blocking, is insane. They can really shift, and when you've got people who can run the ball, not in just the same one facet. So you've got CMC, who's great. You've got a very good backup in Elijah Mitchell. You've got Debo, who can line up in the backfield. You've got Brandon Ayuk, who can take screens, who can take reverses. There's a lot of complexity to this offense that we haven't seen.
I agree. I think, like I said, I think it's going to come down to the quarterback play. Purdy's going to have to try and hit a different gear this game And I
I'll
think
go back to the gear that he was at the end of last season. At the end of the season.
At the end of the season, a little bit's going to be passed on because I think he's going to have to make a few more big time throws, and he's like I said, it's going to come down to a few plays from him because I think this game's going to be really close. But if he can execute on those plays, then I think I wouldn't be surprised if we did lose, but I'll be disappointed. Like I said,
Well, of course you're going to be disappointed. You're supporting the team who's got the best record in the league, so you're going to be disappointed.
One thing I know is that
but also
extremely poised, so he hasn't had any real pressure on him
defense. No, he had Micah Parsons running after him last week. He's had pressure.
He's had pressure, but like I said, he's stayed poised. But it was a lot of pressures. You know what I mean? That's all it was. So we need to get in his head early.
Because he also had
a good NFL cracking, like a good NFL knock. Then maybe he'll think about a few things.
He had some glorious incompletions last week where he evaded pressure and managed to get that ball. Like you were saying with what will happen with Jalen Hurts, he was doing that, but he was setting his feet and then throwing it out of bounds. And everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to take a hit," and he took a hit. But the thing is, he knew that he couldn't take a sack in those situations. There are some times where he has that situational awareness where he doesn't need to take a sack, or sometimes he does need to take the sack and he hits and he gets hit. Because points on the board could end up being a Robbie Gould game. Robbie Gould has never missed a kick in the postseason. Special teams.
Imagine if it comes down to kickers. Imagine if it comes it could be a big time special teams play. I'm not saying someone's going to take it all the way, but if you get, instead of ending at the 20-yard line, but you get into someone's 40, that could be the play. You know what I mean? I think
fine margins in such a high stakes game like this is
missed field goal, extra point could be critical.
All right. Now moving on to an even tighter matchup between the current AFC champions and Patrick Mahomes, the AFC first seed. As there's been a lot of trash talk between these two cities. We've seen the mayor of Cincinnati talk about Burrowhead with Joe Burrow having an unbeaten record going up against Patrick Mahomes. And
I think
that is uncanny. I'm not going to lie.
It's uncanny. And people have said Pacheco is a different beast when it comes to how he runs the ball and how he runs the ball so angry. But the thing is, that Cincinnati Bengals defensive line, they have 3 outstanding players.
Oh, they do. But here's the thing, though. Like, in the playoffs, as much as they have 3 outstanding players, and they're going to be very key for this game, I think this game is one of those games whereby the Chiefs are going to play with a lot of motivation and a lot of inspiration, a lot of bulletin board material in terms of we need to. I think the whole team will galvanize around Pat and have a feel of we got to win this one.
And
for
Pat's
Pat.
ankle, right? They're giving all the healing powers to Pat's ankle.
We go step up our level and give it our all for Pat. And also, I think it might play into the Chiefs' favor because of the trash talk. And I think you talked about it earlier. The trash talk has been mainly from Cincinnati's side about how Joe Burrow is.
It has come also from the Chiefs' side where one of their players said, "What do you rate about the Cincinnati Bengals offense?" And he goes, "Nothing."
Well, he's a defensive player. What do you expect him to say? Oh, they have a very good defense. They have
no.
Offense.
Their offense, but there's a difference. There's a difference between saying I'm confident in my abilities, and then you're saying there's nothing about them that's good.
No, but I think
they are good.
No, I love how what do you call Nick Bolton responded to that question, because kind of like, I'm not gonna show you any respect. You're gonna have to make me respect the game, because if I'm gonna show respect from the beginning, then you've already kind of like won the matchup. In certain matchups, when you go be physically imposing us and like, I ain't scared of whatever you're gonna show me in this play. I'm coming out here to
but don't provide bulletin
material.
board material. The thing is, there's also a thing of not providing bulletin board material for each other.
I think the Bengals, like all week, on Twitter, what I've seen is because the Bengals are so confident in the fact that they've already beaten the Chiefs 3 times in past encounters, and they're thinking, and that might be a little bit of a complacency on the Bengals. In terms of
but the thing is, it's the fan base. It's not the player. It's not. Aside from Eli Apple, it's not really on.
He's one of their players, isn't he?
Yeah, well, the thing is, Eli Apple, he could be apple pie by the end of this game. But the thing is, they can win even with him being apple pie. That's the thing. Then we know this. Joe Burrow has this innate ability to get into the depths of just his mojo. He has this moxie about him, and he's got this ability to just bring wins, which Patrick Mahomes has been able to do as well. But the thing is that we're really going to see.
What about that ankle?
It's all on that ankle. But the thing is that we know that certain plays in that playbook will not be there this week.
Yeah.
Anything which can there are certain things which can aggravate it, like certain like they would have tested effectively. I say, okay, how does doing this action effectively? How does this interact with your ankle? How does this work? How does this work? And then, like, there was last week when he was going for stretch plays and you couldn't stretch, in the run game. All right, that has to go out. That has to go out of the window. Or you have him in pistol formation, so you bring him back, so he's not under center and having to stretch. He's able to just hand the ball off, and he's still able to do a stretch play.
Yeah, but you gotta understand. Last week the injury was fresh; it just happened, so we don't know in practice after. Because the funny thing is that I'm not sure if it was a high ankle sprain to begin with.
They've diagnosed it as a high ankle sprain because they would have seen it.
Yeah, but how many times do teams put misinformation out there in the NFL anyway? Because think about it.
But it was on the
night.
If
it's a high ankle sprain, yeah, but let me finish for a second. What I'm trying to say is this: yes, they've diagnosed a high ankle sprain, but if you watch the practice videos that they released, a couple of the clips that they released all week,
he moving
show
okay.
Signs that people typically show.
But also, you saw how much strapping. You saw how much strapping he had, and the thing is,
yeah, but
I like what this
in moving. That's the thing.
Or
people get heavily strapped and they can't even move.
Or has he?
I was just like the press conferences, how he walked was. It wasn't typical of when you have
they're gonna keep this under wraps for as long as they can.
Yeah, but did he call Tom Brady and ask him for what his voodoo tricks he can do? You're not going to do any blood sacrifices because people don't have a clue how he's able to move. So, but the thing is,
like,
when he's got Trey Hendrickson going after him, it might be a little bit different.
Nah, you can't. You have to understand, Pat Mahomes is athletic enough to extend plays, but he's barely getting away from defensive ends. And the guys that are going to be coming for him can track him down. They're usually right there on his
Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard,
but
DJ Reader.
He can move, but he's not. Patrick Mahomes is not the fastest out there. He mainly operates from the pocket.
But his game is. But
he's going to be gone completely. Like, he's just not going to be there this game. So it might actually work because the offensive line and how they're going to play is going to be different from what the tape has shown throughout the season. So they're going to come up with a different. He's a
good enough pocket passer.
He's a good enough.
That's the thing. He can just sit in the pocket. He's capable of beating you purely from the pocket. That's the thing. He doesn't need. He doesn't. His legs allows him to extend plays, but the thing is, he is good enough to beat you single-handedly from the pocket. I know I'm arguing against myself because obviously I'm talking about their defensive line, but the thing is,
your Bengals bias is very, very, very clear anyway.
Well, no, I like both teams. I like Travis Kelce. I like and I like Patrick Mahomes, and I like Joe Burrow.
You prefer Joe Burrow?
No, I to be honest, I like them both equally. Like, it's brilliant for the AFC. It's brilliant for the league that we've got these QB rivalries going
Yeah.
with the younger
It's
players.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think, like I said, it's the true turning of the guard now. So, like I said, it's the next 6 to 10 plus years, 10 years. It's going to be these guys going back and forth. And like I said, that division is so hard to win. It's literally going to shape a lot of things in the league. Free agency is going to change. If you're a quarterback, if you're a head coach, do you really want to have to go through that gauntlet? You know what I mean? As teams get better and better, there's going to be QBs on the other side as well that are going to join the fray. Do you really want to be going through that gauntlet? You said it, like if you look at Sean Payton, there's something you have to think about. You know what I mean?
We know
Like,
that Sean Payton's probably not going to be a head coach in the league next season. And we have a first-time chatter. Mr. Daniel.
Yes.
He is a biased Seattle Seahawks fan. So he, no bias at all, right, Donny? Yeah, with the emotes as well. So,
I mean, all I would say is that in the early goings, I think this Mahomes and Burrow sort of rivalry is like the first indication of a Peyton Brady type rivalry.
but the thing is, there's three.
Because
There's three
in the early
quarterbacks.
goings, well, we don't.
Who's the third? Who's the third?
We're not counting Allen. I'm not counting Allen.
He's gonna, if he's not careful, man, he could end up.
What, the next Phillip Rivers?
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Like, he needs to be careful.
Now, when we talk Brady Manning, we don't really put Rivers in there. It's Brady Manning. Right now, it's these two that are like the leading shining light. Because right now, in my pecking order for the AFC, is Mahomes Burrow, basically, or Burrow Mahomes. People flip them about, whichever way you flip them. But I just think that those two are the early goings. But the reason why it's still too early to tell, in the sense that we don't know which other QBs are going to join the fray, because for a long time, Brady Manning was like when they play each other in the playoffs, whichever person wins is getting to the championship at least, or to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, when they fell flat in the Super Bowl last time they went the Bengals, I was honestly saying to myself, they might never get back. The league is so difficult to climb that
next
tower.
year, they're 1 game away again.
And then next year, it's like 1 game away. Okay, so this isn't like a one-off thing where everything fell into their hands. You had Jamar Chase, who had the incredible season and just shocked everyone. No, they've gotten back. They could potentially get back to the dance, or within 1 game of it, then like back to back. So for me, it's almost like this is not a fluke anymore. They're very much real, and the Bengals, just like what Joe Burrow said, as long as he's the QB there, you cannot count them out, and they should be expected, if not to be in that Final Four dance, because they are that good.
Okay,
it's true, but at the same time, that's what Jim Kelly thought. They made it to 4 Super Bowls, and did they win one of them?
That would be crippling, man. But he just needs to get one. If Joe Burrow can get one,
do you know what? Do you know what I would say though?
People make it to 4 straight.
Joe Burrow,
before, so.
like Joe Burrow is a known winner.
Yeah.
With what he did with LSU.
Yeah.
What nobody expected the Bengals to be back at this position this year, correct?
Here's the thing about the LSU thing here. I'm going to put a little bit caveat here. And Ward knows this from college football as well. Because of the wide receivers they had on that roster, and they knew the wide receivers they had, even if you had put Jalen Hurts as QB, they were winning that national championship.
Jamal,
that national championship, they were going to win it.
They have a freshman, or I think he was a freshman that year, who's now the best wide receiver in the draft coming out this season. He was a freshman on that team. He couldn't even get on the field. So it's a pipeline over there. So we
know we've talked a lot about LSU and their wide receiver core, but I'm just, leading into that moxie of him. Now, if we look at the injury reports, Kappa, Jonah Williams are out, confirmed. But we know that the offensive lineman played extremely well last week. The thing is, this week, you've got a little bit of a different defensive line to deal with. How do you feel that the trenches battle between the backup linemen of the Bengals versus the defensive linemen that the Chiefs have? Who do you think wins that battle?
The Chiefs defensive lineman wins that battle, and I think in the playoffs, the defensive line have played better than in the regular season, because I think last week Frank Clark showed up, had a couple of pressures. I think he had a sack or two maybe in their win last week. The thing is, Joe Burrow has this innate ability that if the game close in the fourth quarter, the key thing for the Chiefs is if they get a lead, to make sure they extend the lead and not sit on their laurels, because they know. And I think the Chiefs has to realize they have to play all 60 minutes of this game. They can't play, to the fourth quarter and it's like pedal to the metal, both sides of the ball. And the key is the Chiefs defensive line will have to play a hell of a game. You have to really go hellacious, because we all know Joe Burrow is one of those QBs that he's been sacked 9 times and still won a game. So sacks is nothing to him. I mean, he takes it.
He is literally Chumbawamba tub thumping.
Yeah, looking at
that. Also, 6'4", 240. That definitely helps.
Frank Clark, Carlos Dunlap.
Okay, from Danielle, Josh Allen is on a Cam Newton path if the Bills don't start him getting hit, in his opinion.
Okay, now Danielle, what I would say to that is, listen, people are putting Josh Allen in the stratosphere as Cam Newton, right? And I don't quite buy it. And the reason why I say that is that when Josh Allen takes the Bills to a Super Bowl, then we can have that talk, because Cam Newton did that and won MVP.
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument.
Because Carolina was not going to that Super Bowl if Cam didn't have that magical MVP season and he was outstanding that year. And he literally dragged. Because if you look at the team and the receivers he had on that team,
who was the running back? Who was the running back for the Panthers?
They had John Stewart. He is a good back, but he wasn't
a good back. But I think he was a better back than what Singletary is.
Yeah, but he's not. He wasn't CMC.
Yep, that's true. He was always.
He wasn't a top 10. He
wasn't a top 10, but I would.
And as much as it was, Cam Newton was also part of the rushing attack for Panthers that year. He was still running the football. And his main weapon was Greg Olsen, the tight end. He didn't have Stephon Diggs on the team.
Yeah, that's true.
And when they went to the Super Bowl, I don't think they had Steve Smith either. I think they had traded him at that point.
Yeah, Cam Newton almost engineered that Super Bowl run.
He
also
engineered that Super Bowl run for the Panthers.
I think the one thing about Cam Newton, he was the trailblazer for that style of quarterback, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a trailblazer for that style of quarterback, but we've seen the trajectory of how that, how the fall off can come quickly for that style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, not the complete same style, effectively, but we've seen, again, nowhere near in terms of arm talent when we had like Andrew Luck and things like that. But hits on a quarterback do add up. We know this. We've seen it.
They do.
So yes, the Bills, in my opinion, have to shore up that running game.
Yep.
We've seen it. What have we seen from the Eagles, right? When you have designed runs, but you have a legitimate running game, you are able to you are able to develop a much more balanced offense. Now, Josh Allen, if he's lowering his shoulder in games like the playoffs, I don't mind that.
Yeah, because you're putting on the line.
Because you're putting on in the regular season, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, you got a point. Yeah.
Because the amount, from a cumulative point of view, put it all on the line in the playoffs. Preserve your body for that playoffs.
Yeah, in terms of big time games, that's when you want to be potentially willing to take those risks, because that could be the difference. I do agree. You don't really want to see that in the regular season, but it's up to the QB to know that, regardless of how big and strong I am, Cam Newton kind of suffered from this, not just to his own detriment, but if you look at to also his team's detriment. Like, it even got as bad where he'd argue the point that he had different rules for him as a QB because he was so big and strong. The referees would perhaps allow defenders to do a little bit more to him, that if it was Aaron Rodgers in that same situation, they're throwing a flag, they're calling the play dead before anything happens. So,
well, we've seen Josh Allen get some questionable penalties as well. So,
yeah, so I think that's changed. But like I said, I kind of look at Josh Allen as Big Ben if he looked after his body. That's how I'm kind of seeing it. I think he's a way more athletic Big Ben. Like I said, Cam Newton was the prototype,
but Big Ben had a better overall set of receivers.
A better overall set of receivers, and I think as far as throwing the football, he was a little bit better as well. But I think, like I said, Allen right now, in my opinion, is Big Ben, who looks after his body a little bit. Make sure he's in shape. And he's going to have a much longer career. That's for sure.
All right. Getting back to the AFC Championship game, we now need to make our predictions. Does Mahomes go for a third Super Bowl? Or does Joe Burrow go for back-to-back Super Bowl appearances?
Yeah, the margins
I want Donnie's as well. I want his prediction in chat as well.
Yeah, the margins are really thin here. I think any advantage is potentially a huge advantage here. We don't know what type of Patrick Mahomes we're going to see coming off the ankle. And I'm not going to disrespect Joe Burrow and say, even with that, they're still going to be able to get this win. I've got to respect Joe Burrow here. So I'm going to go with the Bengals to win this game. But don't get me wrong. I actually want Kansas City to win. I want to see those guys. I want to see greatness. But I'm going with Joe Burrow. No, I'm not. I'm going with Joe Burrow. I'm not going to disrespect Joe Burrow like that.
Okay, all right.
I can't. The injury is a thing.
I know why Will. I know why. No. I know why Will wants Kansas City to win. And here's my devious. This is my Peter Arizona Cardinal style theory of everything. Everything comes back to the Eagles, right? For everything comes back to the Eagles for this circumstance, because what's an easier target? A potential. No. What's a easier somebody who potentially, if he gets a few hits tomorrow and they get through, and that's aggravated that ankle, that could be much easier for those Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he wants Kansas City to go through.
I mean, if you smell blood in the water...
No, but wait, okay,
so... He could get hit. He could get hit again tomorrow. You never know this.
No, but hold on. I have a different perspective. Are you forgetting what the Rams defensive line did to the Bengals offensive line in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think the difference is the Rams had Aaron Donald and Von Miller.
Yeah, but
and Von Miller, yeah.
So, see, you all need to stop disrespecting Hassan Reddick. Yeah, I don't understand why.
No. I'm talking about the Chiefs. I'm talking about the Chiefs. When I'm talking about the Chiefs.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it relates to pass rush versus the Bengals
Yeah,
offensive
but
line.
Chris
no?
Jones and Frank Clark aren't the same as Aaron Donald and Von Miller.
No, I'm just looking. I'm talking about the NFC side. You need to
yeah.
understand. I'm talking about the Eagles.
Okay.
Like if the Eagles supposed to make to the Super Bowl, Bengals have no chance. Have you seen the Eagles defensive line? Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Those guys, they don't have a single guy like they're like okay. So the interior guys, Fletcher Cox and the defensive tackles, may be a little bit behind Aaron Donald, but altogether they are much better pass rush than the Bengals faced in a Super Bowl.
It's because it's constant and from every angle. You've got interior guys who can bring pressure.
You get what I'm saying?
Guys.
And
it's very hard to defend.
The Bengals right now, they're not backup O-line. So that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. If we're picking the Bengals to win, it's an easier matchup for his Eagles should they get to the Super Bowl.
Okay, all right. From a rushing offense point of view, who would you rather face? Which rushing offense? I think you'd rather face Kansas City's rushing offense than
the Bengals.
The Bengals. Because
Samaj AP Ryan is a downhill runner. Joe Mixon is a downhill runner. That's the best way to sort of negate our defensive front. You've got to give as much as you can take, really. So I'd take that zone read any day of the week over ISOs and set holes. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion on it. So not Dilly, but can the other gentleman say Jaguars before you run?
Jaguars. Yeah, Jaguars. Because he says Jaguars. Jaguars. Yeah. This is Jaguars. Jaguars. Yeah.
The London Jaguars.
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Jaguars. It's like advertisement.
Right. Okay, predictions. So, Will, you said you think Cincy's going to win, but you hope the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, I want the Chiefs to win, but Cincinnati's going to win this.
All right, Peter. I'm thinking you're going to say Kansas is going to win. Am I right in that assumption?
Absolutely. I'm going my homeboy. They're playing Arrowhead Stadium. Yes, they lost last year in the championship game. This is a chance to make it up. This is a chance to make it right. Yes, Pat Mahomes is going to play. Yes, the ankle is going to be an issue. But the Chiefs will find a way, and mainly because I think the Chiefs' defense will be on a mission. Because I think last year they felt that they were the reason why they lost the game last year. And this year, I think the Chiefs' defense they'll be on the hunt. They'll step up to the plate.
Hey,
it's your pick, Dale boy. It's your pick. What's it gonna be?
My head says, like, for
no,
some reason,
you have to stop doing my head says and all that.
No, because I've got this inkling that Kansas City is going to win, but logically, I don't see how.
You just don't know.
The Bengals are stopped here from pass rush, bad ankle, them having the better, them probably having more joy running the ball than Kansas City will have joy running the ball. Now, we have had Travis Kelce come on the injury report with a bad back, but he's going to be playing. He's going to be fine. But the thing is, they stop Kelce, they win this game.
Yeah.
Who's going to stop Kelce?
Could it be scheme? That's the only thing you can do. Can you scheme it? But the thing is, it's the...
How many teams have tried to scheme Kelce and the guy still scoring touchdowns?
And we've seen it with one-leg plays and the like from Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but the question, my question is,
how many targets is Kelce going to have tomorrow?
How many have done it?
20?
Huh?
20? 20 targets tomorrow?
and I bet you he'll catch more than 10 of them, or even 14 of them.
No, I
he
know
could
I've
get
been
14
egregious.
catches for 90 yards and 3 touchdowns easily.
Or is he going to have one of those games where it's going to be? He's saying 3. Yeah, he's.
It's gonna be.
I'm saying that he
I
could
think
easily
it's
do
gonna
that.
be a late bloomer. It's gonna be like a late bloomer. Like he's gonna find his mojo, but it's gonna be late, too late.
No, I don't
So-
think. I don't think. I think they're going to be checking down to him. Even last
Kelsey
week, they were,
always
what
finds his
were they
way,
doing?
man.
They were checking. They were checking down to Kelsey. He was
Well,
catching
yeah.
the ball in 4 or 5 yard plays.
They do need to
Yeah,
get the
but
ball
those
out of
4 or
Mahomes'
5 yard
hands early.
plays, that is moving the chains. That's the thing.
Correct.
You guys think it's just, he's getting 5 yards, but every 5 yards he's getting, they're moving the chains towards scoring a touchdown. So you
Yeah.
could say we'll give Kelsey the 5 yard catches. If Kelsey's gonna get 5 yard a pop, if I'm an OC, I'm taking that 5 yard a pop all the time because look, it's 10 yards. If he makes 2 5 yard catches, we're moving the chains.
They do need to get the ball out of Mahomes' hands faster too. He can't hold on long, so it's probably going to be those.
But they
short
can
plays.
hold off the pass rush
And
with
also-
Pacheco runs. That's the thing.
Also,
Yeah.
exactly, and also you need to understand that Jerick McKinnon is also a very good receiving back. So it's not just Kelsey that can dink and dunk to. They can dink and dunk to Jerick McKinnon as well, who's another option for moving the chains in short yardage situations.
Do we? So if I look at run defense is 7 versus 8. 7th versus 8th in the league.
What, both the Bengals and the Chiefs? Which
Yeah,
one
they
is 7,
both
which one
got.
is 8?
Cincinnati 7th best in terms of yards per game. They both stopped the run.
Yeah, so basically, so it's not a given that
If you look at
since he can run the ball over them.
you look at it from a metrics point of view, you literally can't split these two teams.
They're very close teams. So I think a lot of people are leaning the fact that Mahomes is hobbled by the ankle. So
Okay,
they're thinking that as advantage.
Turnovers. So we talk about obviously Burrow's lack of turnovers. Do we think it could purely come down to somebody making an extremely good heads-up play?
It could that could happen too. It could be.
We saw it with Kansas City last week. Heads up, not a heads-up play, but allowing Jamal Agnew to fumble the ball by himself, and then getting that ball.
The Jaguars were losing that game if it went to OT.
Correct, but like we said, don't turn the ball over. Give your team the opportunity. And if we look at the skill positions, I've seen more turnovers from Kansas City skill position players than I've seen from the skill position players of the Bengals.
But the thing about the Chiefs, though, what do we know about them? They could turn the ball over 2-3 times and still win games. They've done that before. So the thing that people tend to forget about the Chiefs or Kansas City because they're so good is because they can make mistakes and rebound from them. You know, they can come back. I've seen the Chiefs give up, 10-point, 15-point leads and so find a way to claw back into the game. They have this uncanny ability of, okay, let's just take it one play at a time. And before you know it, they've tied the game up. And once they start mounting the comeback, sometimes things break for them defensively when you didn't expect it to break for them defensively. It happens.
But
Yeah,
we could definitely go around in circles with this game because it is literally a 1.5. Like it's split down the middle. It's 1.5 points from a expectation point of view of who beats who, and that's nothing.
I'm all for the chaos and the drama, and I think sometimes you're due. And I think on this occasion, Pat Mahomes is.
Can you imagine? All right, So I can't remember who said it. Kansas City has to win this one for it to actually be a rivalry.
Okay, well, so it's going to be like fairly one-sided.
But if they beat you every single time, then
yeah,
it's not a rivalry,
Well,
is it?
the Colts and the Pats, it was still a rivalry, even though the Pats was beating you guys every single time.
Correct. I think
it's more of a right now.
Jeff Saturday decided that look, y'all are too scared. Jeff Saturday is the one that actually broke that thing for you guys by saying, look, we are winning this time. I'm sick and tired of losing to them.
I think.
Right
now it's a QB rivalry. It's not a team rivalry yet.
All right, Dilly, I gotta say this. You know, they do that America's Game, which tells a story of Super Bowl winners by the NFL Network. Do you know which one's my favorite?
What, the Colts one?
Yeah, that's my favorite of all of them.
Yeah, because you get to see the GOAT throw the ball.
No, it's not even about that. This was even before I knew about the rivalry and Brady and everything.
No, my GOAT, not my GOAT.
Yeah, because when I watched it was the first time that I watched it, and I was like,
I don't think
team that actually
I will
and prevailed eventually.
I will always say it. Peyton Manning never had a top 10 defense in Indianapolis. Never.
That's true.
And he still found a way. Yeah, it's true.
No, but that year the Colts relied on one defensive star, and that's what helped them get through.
Yeah, but that was towards the end of the season. It was literally in the playoffs when they started to play, because they were garbage up until then. And then they started...
but I said it was because and they didn't do it like, you know, other teams will have like
who was that man? Who was that man? Go on. I know who. Exactly. Absolute maniac he was. Shame his career was so short.
He was only 5'8", 200 pounds.
Reckless, but he was one of the hardest hitters.
There'll never be another safety like that. That's the end of an era now, because they don't even draft guys if they're not a certain height at safety anymore.
When Bob Sanders played, the Colts defense was different. They were like an elite defense.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
I know we're going back down memory lane. You're gonna I was seeing plays. Who was I seeing? What was I seeing from? So I saw a play of Andrew Luck getting tackled by his waist. I think it was to Dante Moncrief, right? This play where he's getting tackled by his waist and he throws this 40-yard absolute dart to the corner of the end zone. Moncrief's just there. And you're like... It's the most astounding, we think of these mobile quarterbacks who are hard to bring down. We think of Jalen Hurts, who's hard to bring down, right? But one thing about Jalen Hurts is hard to bring down. He rolls out and he continues, and then he makes a throw, correct? Mm-hmm. But how many of these guys have we seen when they are literally being tackled by their waist, throw an absolute missile down the field?
Not a lot.
Only a select few guys can make those kind of throws. You literally got to have the arm strength to do that.
Josh Allen can.
Accuracy. It wasn't the answer. It was pure accuracy. Yeah.
It's real hard to do.
And I'll send you guys the clip of the exact touchdown that I was talking about. But all right. I didn't actually. Did I? So I said Cincinnati Bengals. Putting my stake in. And that is probably the little... I don't have a bias or an affinity to the Cincinnati Bengals, but I am representing the person who got me into the NFL. My friend Alex, who is a Bengals fan, he is the one who got me into this league. And He is the one that told me back in those days, you cannot support the same team as me just because I support them as well. So pick your own team. And that's how I managed to stumble upon the Colts and had some good times back then and a bunch of misery since. But aside from that, we're going to be back next week to talk about these two brilliant matchups and who potentially are the hires. So aside from that, it's going to be have a great rest of the weekend to everybody, and we'll be back early on next week to talk about who is going to be in the Superb Owl, as my
Superb Owl.
as the predictive text always changes it to instead of Super Bowl. Goodbye from myself. Goodbye from Peter down below, and Will Joestar. And until next time, we have been the Ballers across the pond.